Okay, I think we're all set, Corbin. I think we're completely ready to get rolling. It's cold already. Forget it. Okay, I think we're going. So this is day 4 of a number of one-page stories that I'm doing interconnected, right? And I've tried a couple of different approaches to things. The page that I posted on social media today is it's mixed media on a page that was sent to me in the mail by Devin Rex for art and Yolanda. Super cool artist. And so I drew the page directly on top of that. So a lot of these really wonderful color variations started popping through, and it sort of establishes the tone for what the palette you're going to use is, which is a nice thing about using in a page that's got an existing start to it, with different colors. What do you need? Oh, Corbin's saying hi. Okay, so this is the first. This would be the earliest page in this interconnected story, and so the idea here is that I'm doing pages that have they have a similarity in the characters and a similarity in the actions, but the story in and of itself is still just about a bunch of one-page bits. The fact that they can connect as a larger narrative is the sort of extra sneaky secret sauce that I'm going for here. And I think it's going well. I think that there's something to that. I'll show you the first 3 anyways. And we've got the one I posted today, which is unconventional. And this page refers to common conventions and how some of the exciting moments that you'll have and some of the exciting characters that you can meet at these things. This is why the first panel is somebody walks up to a creator's table and goes, "Do you know where the bathroom is?" Like, that's their entire motivation. And then you immediately have somebody tell you how you should be doing what you're doing better, according to what their want is. And then you've got somebody who comes over and you're like, "What in the world, guy?" These things generally happen on a consistent rate throughout the course of a weekend. But I wanted to play with the idea of one of the characters that is from a previous page. So this stands alone as unconventional, but it ends with a connecting aspect to the suggestion was chicken villain, and so the villain in the video game that this game developer is promoting at this event is about a chicken that's the villain. So it meets the one-page criteria, and then it furthers on into adding that element of one of the characters. The game developing character is one of the 4 of the fancy gaming team that shows up in another page. So the first page that I actually did was this one, and this is about soldiers against the unknown was the suggestion. And so I've got these guys trying to get off of a spaceship or something. I never clearly defined what they're trying to get off of, just they need to get on an escape craft to do it. And so there's some similar motifs that I've tried to carry across, like panels that break out of the confines of the border, like the fella at the far right side at the top. Panels that have open top, or frame of reference that has an open top and not a closed panel, and then some overlapping elements, right? So, and the same thing is consistent through here. And then the third panel, which is kind of a flip-flop, is where you see this is a story about this world champion. So the idea is that somebody plays video games, and anybody that dies in a video game dies in real life. Gasp is actually in that suggestion. So So what I did is that I used this gaming group, these 4 characters, and then I showed that the game that they were playing is very similar to the actions that are in the preceding page. Into the unknown, the soldiers fighting the unknown. So there's 4 characters there, one's getting pulled along. There's 4 characters here, one is in bad shape. So the question is if the page you read before actually happens, or if it's just within the confines of the video game. So I like that a lot. I think that something like that is very fun. And so whatever we do today, all I know is that I want to do the panels. I want to change up the panels a little bit and do them in a vertical fashion as opposed to a horizontal. So very tall panels, and to have them move across the page. So that's what we're going to be trying out. And I'm going to be using ballpoint pens, Papermate ballpoints. Papermate 1.0, that's M. Okay, Corbin really wants to say hi. He's been smacking my leg the entire time. There you go. Hey everybody, what's happening? Right on. Okay, yeah, you're happy? Seriously, this is my world. So, okay, so I got the book, the magic book, and it's just fine. Okay, so the idea is I'm not trying to find specific one-page story suggestions that interconnect with whatever my intention is. The idea here is to just pick random ones and then have to incorporate those in. I mean, Chicken Villain has nothing to do with soldiers fighting against the unknown, right? Unless you were to say the soldiers were fighting the chicken. And that's a linear progression, right? That's an obvious step from one to the next. Soldiers fighting the unknown, it's revealed to be a chicken, right? But I tend not to try to do linear things. I try to take little turns, left turns I call them. So here's one. Pandas eating chocolate? No, I'm not going to do that. Okay, how about memory lane for Grandpa? It's very random. Memory lane for Grandpa, and then the next page that I confirmed that I was going to. I just want to pick a random one today, and then I have to fit in a suggestion that came in during the live stream yesterday because I said I would. Paula gave us the suggestion of we need a Gordon Ramsay page. Not a big proponent of this guy, but I can see us just sticking him in a page to do so. So let's do Grandpa. What was it again? Where's the book? Memory lane for Grandpa. That comes from John. So I'll write it down on the sheet. Memory lane for Grandpa. That's how you say it, folks. And that comes from John. So I'll switch the cameras up. Let's get over to... so you've seen how the pages... So the first page I did was this one, which is now page 2. The next page I did was this one, which is now page 3. And the page I did yesterday is page 1 in the potential order of these things. So, yeah, this is gonna be fun. All right, so I'm gonna switch the camera over to the overhead. So there you can see I wrote down the suggestion, and then the challenge, the further challenge that I gave myself today is these linear panels that I have to draw in. Now, you can't really see those because they're in pencil, but you're going to be able to see the pen. And that's the thing that is important today. So, thank you, John, for this suggestion. And then tomorrow's suggestion will be from Paula, and that is we need a Gordon Ramsay page. So, there we go. All right, so I've got I've got some panels set up now. I got a thin linear panel here, or a thin vertical panel. It's almost linear, so it's just like a straight line. And then 4 equally sized panels. And the thin one would be a place for the title to go. Because again, these are one-page things, so I can have titles on each of them if I want. And it's just testing out something further beyond just doing the one-page stories, like we've got, like I do on a regular basis, or the ones that are in that first volume. So the one this it's entirely, this has nothing to do with the next page, nor this one, nor this one. So it's the same, like approach to doing each story is a single page. But then when you step back, so it has to have some kind of resolution, okay? So then when you step back and you read them in as they're laid into whatever format, you'll realize that, there's recurring elements that carry through. Susanna says, hi, good morning or afternoon. Hi, Susanna, how are you? So let's do memory lane for Grandpa. So why don't we start off with drawing a grandpa? I mean, that's probably a good way to get rocking and a rolling. Usually, right? Okay, I'm going to move this ruler. So, let's go to the top of the page here, and so the confines of this panel is here to here. That's not to say I'm not going to go over the edge, because I do that. But let's just get started. So I'm going to do something that's going to annoy people, and that's this. I'm going to, when you're drawing with the ballpoint pen, and if you want more control, rather than just drawing lighter or heavier top down, a way that you can also do it and have far more control about what the tonal value is to give it an angle. The challenge of that is that ink gathers up on the opposite side of the pen, and so every now and then you got to do this, or else you'll get that dollop of ink on your paper and it smudges, and it doesn't make any of the kids happy. So, all right, so let's start drawing a grandpa. So I'm just going to start laying in, and can you see that okay? I think so. So I'm just going to start laying in this old fella in our foreground, and then my thought is I'm going to want to use one of the 4 game designer players. So in this page as well. So if I put Grandpa in the foreground, I can have one of them in the background helping out at home or whatever it is they do. So I'm exploring the shapes, all the lines and shapes in the face, and we'll try to find some interesting lines and some interesting little directions and movements in his skin, and make him really ancient. Hi, hope you have a good stream. Hey, thanks very much. So yeah, so that's very nice. So we're putting Grandpa in now. This is the part where I say that if you can control far better the amount of the opacity of the ink, right? The level of the black stick rays that you're putting down based on pressure. But again, I have this. I find it seems to feel like it works better for me turned on its side, the pen turned on its side on a nice little angle. I just feel like it controls the flow a little more, and gives me a little bit more power to have lighter and darker values. So I find that when I hold the pen just straight down, well, you're getting dark stuff right out the top of that. So I like the Papermate pen. Everybody has their favorite drawing pens. I like the Papermate pen. There's just something about it to me. Susanna says, your stories are kind of addictive. Oh, I hope that's in a good way. I don't want to have anybody rocking back and forth. Come on, Chris, post today's story. Come on. I don't want to have any of that action happening. So hopefully you're starting to see and understand a little better where this drawing is going. And we'll just keep on. So see what I mean by you get these nicer gray values in there. It's all about trial and error. It's all about testing out and finding what is the thing that's the most comfort for you in your mark making journey. All right. So the decision I get to make in a moment is, do I cut off, Grandpa along the border of the panel? Or do I extend his head so that it actually covers over into the next panel? And stay tuned after these commercials to find out. Yeah. So this is the sort of thing that I like to do to myself, is to continually put additional challenges and try a bunch of different things. This is why yesterday I was showing this, which is a cootie catcher, and I figured out a way to tell a story basically with it. But this, and I'm only showing this example instead of the other ones because those are going to go up on the Patreon. So Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, based on the play, the book, and so then there's the different symbols that represent, give and take, repair and destroy, attack and defend, buy and sell, Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. And then there's stuff written on the inside of each about actions. And so if you're looking for ideas in your story, this is a way to insert those without having to, and allow yourself the spontaneity of that. The other ones that I've done, that I'll be posting soon, I'm just finishing up, are choose your own adventures. I figured out how to do choose your own adventures using those things. I don't know if everybody's familiar with those, but I just learned how one makes these. The entirety of my life, they seem like magical devices, and how do you fold those together? Because I've never actually sat down and had one to deconstruct, which is what I did on the weekend. And then I sat down and tried to figure out what alternative ways can we approach this, instead of just having jokes. Pick a color, pick a number, here's your funny joke, which really works. So I'm exploring the old feller's face. Hopefully you can see that. And so we've got Grandpa in the foreground, and we'll have his grandson, who's an adult, taking care of him. So I want to follow some of these lines. This furrowed brow. And sometimes you don't have to draw the whole line across, or moving up the forehead. You can have subtle movements like this, which imply that the line, is going over some folds in the skin. What do I think about the dib pen? Like for dipping in ink, or like a fountain pen? Is that what you mean? So let me see. So in the one page, my first book that I just put out on Amazon, I try every medium under the sun, and I'm pretty sure we've got a dipping pen page in here. Just give me a sec to take a peek. Maybe, maybe not. That's ballpoint. Okay. Okay, there's one. So this page here, which is Bug Lizard Cowboy, that's in this book, this is drawn initially in a dipping pen. So, and then, you know, with color put to it. So there's one, and do I have another? That's ballpoint. That's ballpoint. Maybe I don't. Nope, yes I do, right there. That's so this is a black dipping pen, dipping the black quill into the ink, and then with white jelly pen, a white jelly pen, number 10, to do the little color enhance or the light value enhancements, and it's done on a gray paper stock. And then there's little things to add after the fact, like there's some pencil crayon in here, a little bit of manipulation through the computer of overlaying some of the elements, and then adding a little glowing effect there. But initially, this drawing is dipping pen, and that's marker. That might be it in this one. Yeah, I think that might be it. Because this is ballpoint. This is the Christopher Walken in The Shining is a ballpoint page. So boom, 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 boom. Nope, I was wrong. This is dipping pen. So that's, you know, and this is just straight on black line art on a white piece of paper, and so the different value changes are added in through Photoshop. So you can do all kinds of interesting things, and I always show the original material on the side. You can do all kinds of interesting things with different materials. It's just a matter of taking your time exploring those, which is something I'm always trying to do. Okay, so here's some of his forehead in here, and let's just continue on with this face. So I'm going to draw the grandson. Let's just do this now. So I'm going to draw the grandson in standing in behind him and doing things around the apartment here. So there's a nice crinkly face with age, you know. He's seen some stuff, this old fella. Okay, so now I'm just going to continue on down the face. And try to use this sort of these marks with the pens to accord the shapes that the flesh is moving and folding in, and to, you know, try to represent that as best as we can and give a sense of a fullness to the features of Grandpa there. It's a really old Bruce Willis. No, it's not. It's not. I'm just being silly. So I've got to put these big old bags under the eyes. You know, really try to catch a hold of that the aging. Is anybody in the chat like to use dipping pens, like to do stuff with those. I'm just curious now. I think my favorite one, I did a romance story, and I used like a Stonehenge paper because it, it's nice to draw on that with a fountain pen or a dipping pen, and it just got a nice texture to it, and so you can get all kinds of interesting effects that way. It's that makes it usually a lot nice. So I'm exploring the lines in his face and moving down the face this way. I'm changing the directional lines a little bit. I don't do that too much. I know some people, when they work with ink, they make sure all their hatch lines move according to the plane of the face, and yeah, I've got a whole jar. I've got a whole container full of jars of dipping ink, so I tend to do that somewhat regularly, but not recently. I'll have to do one. I'll have to get one of those in. I'll do one Monday, maybe. I don't know what it's going to be, because, I'll pick the suggestion for that day on Monday. For those that are interested, so I'm always leaving the offer open for people if you want to suggest one-page story ideas, a little idea or a little line of dialogue or 3 words, whatever it is. And I'll take that and I'll write and illustrate a story from it. So yesterday's was Chicken Villain. Today's is Memory Lane for Grandpa. We also did Anybody that dies in a video game dies in real life, and soldiers fighting against the unknown this week. So pretty diverse amount of subject matter that we're just pulling out of the book. The Magic Book. My grandfather had really interesting features. I get some of those from him, like male pattern baldness, but big nose. I always like to look at the lines in his face when I was young. Oh, I know. Oh no, that was Ballpoint. Yeah, there's in the book. Here's an example of a ballpoint page. If I can find it. There it is. This is drawn with a ballpoint pen. This is Cat Curling City Championships, and so all these little elements were done with the pen there. So that's his, and then here's another one. This is conspiracies, drawing conspiracies and reading chickens. That was the suggestion. So, lots of fun. The ballpoint pen is kind of my favorite thing to draw with. So my sketchbook is whenever I'm doing some idea drawing, just getting some notions down, or practicing drawing pretty much anything or ideas. That's always ballpoint. It's not necessarily black and white. It's but it's ballpoint. I tend to use color a lot. He says, I want to try some super ink, but it's kind of hard to get in Vietnam. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Even through like Amazon, things like that. Because they deliver international, but I guess it still means it still has to come from someplace relatively close, right? See, I think that, we spend a lot of time wanting to work with certain. I want to use these tools. I saw these things in a magazine, or I saw somebody using those. I want to try that. And when those challenges come up about acquiring that, whether it's economic or just by availability, I'm a big proponent of finding simple tools and making the most of them, right? I grew up, relatively poor for the Western world, and so we never had any real economic accommodation. So my mother would get a really inexpensive large roll of extra paper from a newspaper here in London, and we could just spool that out. And it was about the same cost as to get like a pack of 10 white sheets of paper. And yet, you get about 400 pages worth of that out of these rolls. And so that's what I do these drawings on as a young guy. Just, it's what you do with the tool, more so than the importance of the tool. Because there's a great deal of things that we can do to tell our stories. I'm trying to... Here we go. So this is some of my drawing tools, and so my dipping pen that Amazon's very expensive. I'm sorry to hear that. So this has, I've got two. I've got a very fine one, very small one, and then I've got this guy. Now this is a Speedball lino cut blade holder, and I've customized it. Now I have one of these for lino cutting, but I customized this so that it holds nibs. I bent all my nibs to fit it, and so for me, and so this is a relatively inexpensive way to go about this, but it gives me all the control that I need with my big old gorilla hands to pursue drawing with a dipping pen. So it's not a glorious looking tool, but it's one that does the job. So, because the real talent, the real power of any of your work is you. That's the secret sauce that you bring to your work, is you and your sensibilities and your intuition and your choices. It's a weird holder, but it looks fun to draw. It's definitely strange, but I keep in the end of it all kinds of extra nibs, right? And it works for me. If it didn't fit into the ink bottles, there'd be a problem. So you can get all kinds of different inks in North America, but honestly, it's not the brand that matters, in my opinion. It's the what you do with it, and how you go about whatever type of dipping ink or something like that you can find. When I was a teenager, and we would go to a coffee shop here in the city, we would take our coffees and we would draw with our coffee at the table, and we would try all kinds of different things like dipping pens and brushes, and we would just challenge ourselves to draw the shop. It's a couple of us were doing it, and it sort of caught on, then the lady that owned the coffee shop, she got mad because everybody's dipping, you know, brushes and you know, nibs and pens into their coffees, and she's like, "You're gonna ruin all my cups." Okay, so I've given Grandpa some teeth in there. I've tilted the page a little bit, excuse me, I'll bring it back up in a moment. There we go. Yeah, so he's coming along. And then the idea will be for his grandson to be puttering around in the back behind him. And my idea is that Grandpa's sitting in front of, the window looking outside and having a grand old time. Probably reflecting on past adventures in his youth, I don't know. I let the top go pretty sparingly just so I could just keep going down the face. Now, if it's a benefit to people, even when you're drawing with pen, to pencil out your composition first, do it. There's no right or wrong about this. And nobody gets to criticize you for whatever methodology that you use and whatever tools that you use to accomplish your goal. Hi, Linda. It's just sometimes I want to try some new nibs or inks. It's fun and I will know how it feels when I'm using it. There you go. If you've got friends that utilize ink, swap. Trade with them. Here's I'll give you a little bit of this ink, you give me a little bit of that ink. That I always find is the easiest way to test the grounds of a product. Instead of investing sometimes a lot of money to get things in, for you to use. So, finish some of these lines in the shapes of Grandpa's face. I think I might give him stubble. Old man stubble, which is what I'm going to end up having one day. I got it now. Who are we kidding? So I had initially questioned about whether or not to carry over this image with Grandpa to the next panel. I think I'm going to cut it short here. Make a correction in that chin. I don't like it. I hope everybody's having a good day. Good day, good night, good afternoon, good evening, good morning. Wherever anybody is. I'm already the grandpa that's got the whiskers on the face. Yeah, trying new things is gives you pleasant surprises in your output. Like your creative outputs. There's like jelly plating and brayer off, using a brayer and rolling acrylic paint on paper and overlapping it and making it have this rough, chunky kind of texture, and then having to draw a page on top of that. Sounds like the Truman Show. Good morning, good evening, and good night. Yeah. If I don't see it, that's what he says. If I don't see you, good morning, good evening, and good night. Okay, so now I'm going to come in a little more pressure to put in these stubbly bits, right? And the terrible corporate person that puts Truman through the ringer his entire life on the Truman Show, his name is the same as mine. So these little textures, these little bits of hair here that I'm putting in just to give it a little more something, a little more pep. So I'll be on a couple of, I'm going to be interviewed on a couple of different channels. Once I've got dates and stuff confirmed, I'll post them up here, let people know if they want to come and see me be silly, which is what I call Wednesday. We're kidding, I'm silly every day. There's beauty and diversity. That's so true. So true, Susan. That's one of the... Like the new page that I've got... I try to shake it up when I'm including characters and stuff now. And... Where I live, it's... The entire area was really... settled in Canada here by Irish, Scottish, English, Dutch, German, all these, white European people. And so London was really white for a long time. And that's all changing now, but finally London is starting to become a little more cosmopolitan and more people from everywhere else. So I'm putting a checkered shirt on him now. So I'm just thinking about, just if you have to close your eyes and do it, think about the parts of whatever it is you're drawing. Think about the parts of it. So in this case, I'm thinking about how the collar steps over. You can put a fold in that. There's the button. There's a button right directly underneath that. But we can have that open a little bit and not actually buttoned up. We'll throw another fold through here. Hiya, Paula. I know, folks, I look at my parents and I like what I see. There we go. Able to join while making dinner. Pizza night here. Nice. I made a roast yesterday for when Lori got home from her office. She's working at the office downtown right now. So I made that for her for when she got home, and I made the mistake of, I was watching television while I was peeling potatoes, and so I peeled an entire bag, a big 10-pound bag of potatoes, just because I was paying less attention to the amount of potatoes I was peeling and paying more attention to the program I was watching. So a lot of potatoes. English roast dinner. There you go. Turkey roast with potatoes and vegetable. Okay, so I'm just putting a plaid. Here's a fun thing about plaid. Okay, so people say plaid's a hard thing to figure out when they're drawing. So make 2 gray line sections like so. Okay, and then cross those over with another one, and then a second one down below. All right, and then take a hard line, put it through here, through there, and through there. You've got plaid. And so it's a case of repeating that pattern and bending it over the folds of the fabric, and that's plaid. So I hope that's helpful. I like textures. Like I got a little scribble I did here of this old lady, and I like all the textures of the furry business in her scarf. You know, that little crosshatch in the hat, and trying to figure out, you know, the textures and the buildings, and you know, they do so much on a little drawing now. So Grandpa's having a gay old time. So we're getting this other collar in here. My favorite English roast dinner is either chicken or lamb, a good gravy, plus 10,000 roasting spuds, so we're all good on appealing distraction. Yeah, I just kept going and kept going. And Lori looked at what I made, and she went, "You made a lot of potatoes." So I tried my standard rebuttal of, "You did." Which doesn't make any sense. So I'm thinking about the shape of the collar. I've been telling the kids a lot when I'm teaching groups and classes, the basics, the 3 basics, and how you can draw pretty much anything with square, circle, triangle, and then over time your drawings become a little more sophisticated and you learn how to make those pyramid, cube, and sphere. And then that changes, you know, the structure of your drawing and the depth of it, and that's usually like a first lesson when I'm teaching kids drawing, because it kind of makes their brains explode. Grandma's beard was long and gray. Grandpa combed it every day. He said it felt like shredded wheat, often chewed in his sleep. That's great. That's really great. Oh my. I don't think I've ever heard that before. So, I said this recently in an interview I was doing with somebody, as they were saying, well, what sort of kindled in you an interest in a story? And I was referring to when I was a kid, I really, you know, Asterix and Obelix and the Smurfs and things like that. But it was Rupert books that really made a mark on me, because there's 4 different types of storytelling on each page. Rooster, how you doing? Welcome aboard. Popped in. Oop. There we go. Okay, so here's Grandpa watching a TV show. And so I'm going to put him in a sweater as well. Put a fold in our fabric here. Sort of set some terms for us here as we move. there. It looks like a good spot for a button. So I'm going to put him in a sweater. I like sweaters. They're comfy. I had mine on just before I started. Took it off, and it was immediately cold, and put a hat on as I was starting. So I have to go through the studio every now and then and reclaim the amount of sweaters and things that I have, on my different desks. The back of chairs. Okay, so here's the front of his outfit, and then I'm going to put a little fold here. And so the texture that I want to put down on the sweater to differentiate it from the shirt is that I'm going to do some ratty kind of wool type thing. We have loads of daily songs with the kiddos. I used to like singing a Monty Python song with the kids, and that was I've got 2 legs from my hips to the ground, and when I move my walk around, when I lift my climb upstairs, when I shave my ain't got hair. It's used to be like, that is a terrible song. Yes, it is. Or Roger Miller. I enjoyed singing Roger Miller to him. All you gotta do is knuckle down to it, buckle down, trickle down, do it. Silly, silly, silly business. You can't roller skate with a tiger on your back. You can't roller skate with a tiger on your back? Yeah. So I'm wanting to add some of these little pieces of fabric kicking off. So let me see if I can. My zoom is I've set my zoom camera up over there for something. So here we go. Let me see if we can. There we go. I got a light kicking around over here. So there's our old fella coming in there, and we're trying to get all that little texture and things like that in. So there's our foreground character. So honestly, depending on what you're doing with your first panel, if you're sticking to one medium and you're sticking to a certain, you kind of set the tone for yourself, and you kind of sort of say that, okay, well, this is what I have to, this is the stylistic approach I've decided, and I'm going to have to continue that on throughout. So I've sort of set myself up to have to do this really detailed page. It's like 2 days ago when I set myself up because I started drawing in white on black and the same sort of detailing. And so, yeah, we do it to ourselves, folks. All right, so I've got some ideas. My thing is, okay, it's fine. All right, so I'm going to put the grandson in the background here. And that way I can have him sort of tidying up for putting some tea out for Grandpa. And then we can have him move on to his own adventures. So I tend to try to come in softly. I'll move this down. Or is it, let me see, is this better for people to see? I think so. Have I got the overhead on? I do. Here we go. Is that going to be of benefit? I'm trying to get this other light here. I've got rigging in 2 different places. I'm using what paper am I using? It's awesome. Oh, Roger Miller's awesome, yeah. This is a regular piece of flat cardstock. So, again, the materials, I know some people swear by this and that. I don't. The materials, if you're thinking that everything has to be of archival quality, then you're going to buy archival materials and be prepared for the extra expense. But if everything I was going to buy was archival quality for the amount of doodling and whatnot that I do, boy, that would be an expensive proposition. So this is, you get 100 sheets for $12, $13 in Canada. So, I mean, if you're in the States, that's like a nickel. But it's just a plain old flat cardstock hot press. Hot press means it's flat and smooth. And, he's trying to get away with not drawing his grandson's eyes too detailed, and I realize that kind of looks gawky, so I'll add that in. So I'm just having him, he's going to set down some tea. The pen is a Papermate 1.0. You can buy a pack of 12 of these here in Canada for $2 at a dollar store. And to do this entire page of 8.5 by 11, with this pen, it'll use about a quarter of the ink. You sort of figure out how much ink things take up after a while, like how much ink you need for projects, just because how much you might draw with said tool. So here's his grandson in the background here, and I'm going to have him doing some stuff. See, with all the textures and details in Grandpa's face, I don't want to get too overzealous with the grandsons, because the fewer lines will help to make a clearer understanding that it's a youthful face. So yeah, until you're in a situation or a position where you really should be doing everything on an archival quality material, because you're doing, say, large drawings for an exhibition, and your work is bringing in a little bit of money for each piece, don't feel that it's absolutely imperative that you have fancy paper and fancy tools, fancy pens. I mean, all that sort of stuff with practice and repetition and all that, you're gonna develop your skills over time, and you'll know when it feels like time where, I really gotta be, I've sold, X amount of drawings at this point, and I'm charging people X amount of dollars for them. I should probably be doing it on nicer paper. So I'm going to give the grandson a little bit crazy here. I've been practicing minimal supplies, but a terrible smudger. So what are you drawing with? Like, what's what tools are you using? Are you using pens? Are you using pencils? Because that can make a big difference. The smudging thing, I have to do this a lot and put the ink on the back of my hand. Micron pens. Oh, okay. So consider this. Take a piece of wax paper and lay it like so. So as you're drawing with your micron pens, it allows you to move across the page and from left to right, or if you've got it all figured out. But if you go over top with that wax paper, it's not going to smudge. I mean, it's also important to give your stuff a second to dry as you put it down. That might be it too. Different tools just make you have different feelings. Just try different things and find out which fits you. Yeah. So let me go grab one of my pen drawers. So let me get this out. So I tend to just throw a whole bunch of pens in a drawer and, keep those and just grab them as I need them. I mean, look at this serious piece of pen. It's William Shakespeare. The ideas come out of his head. But different types of pens are going to feel different. Some days you want a softer feeling at the top of the pen, like the rolling ball in your pen at the top is larger, so it's going to feel softer, but you got to realize there's more ink coming out. Things like that. There's so many different pens to use that it's just experiment, have fun. When I was younger, people would say, "Oh, you have to have the right tools. You're not an artist." And we're talking about people that spent tons and tons of money on whatever, and I don't know what they were doing. They didn't allow their creativity to come out, but they had all the bells and whistles. I've got all of these tools, and people go, "Oh, that's awesome. I'm jealous." They do nothing with it. The emotional feeling of using is important. You get to know which ones you don't like for sure. The bad chef always blames his pans. Well, the sad thing is when somebody spends a lot of money on those pans and then doesn't use them. And you've got potential chefs around them that can't accommodate those fancy accommodations for themselves. They can't acquire these fancy tools, and yet they're putting stuff out like a wood chipper. Ow! So I think I'm going to have him adjusting a fan or something in the background. Why? Sorry, don't blame yourself or push yourself too hard. Enjoy the feeling when you draw. When you draw. Oh yeah, for sure. For sure. If you're not having fun, what are you doing? I was thinking about there's an old song. It ain't what you do, it's the way that you do it. There's an old building downtown here, and it was a speakeasy at one point in time. On the second floor of this place, and I just imagine what that would have been like to attend that speakeasy back in the day, because I just can't think of anything like that here in London. So, fairly mundane town. Okay, so here's the grandson up behind Grandpa. My camera's on a kind of a gonking angle or something. It's angling all the drawing. Let's see, what's the proper angle for that to be there? I guess. Yeah, that's better. It's a better angle. Which means I'd have to put the board like so. Lift it up an inch at the bottom. Zero anxiety, just joy. There you go. Paula's got joy, 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 joy down in her heart. So let's put okay. Trying to think of what I want to do in what order I want to do it. I'm gonna have his thumb here. And then I'm going to put a plate here. So he's setting out, hopefully this is going to make sense here. He's setting out dinner for Grandpa. And see, I got a little dot right there. It's going to annoy the senses right out of me. You missing stuff? Yeah, where is everybody? Where is everybody located? It's always fun when that we can all connect and talk about things from whatever distance away. I made a mistake. He's from Vietnam. Are you in Vietnam right now? I made a mistake with the people that would send a picture of the first one-page story and their address. I was mailing out little things, little thank you envelopes, and what I didn't account for is how far away some people are. So I was learning what it costs to mail to different parts of the world. I was really surprised by that, to be honest. Okay, so I've got Grandpa in the foreground, grandson in the background. Let me think here. I'm going to draw a TV table. I'm here but live in the Netherlands for 24 years. There you go. We just had a bunch of Laurie's relatives down. And they live up in Friesland and the Netherlands. And it was really nice. It was really nice to have them over. So I'm going to put, let's do a glass on the table. So I'm thinking about a glass, if that makes any sense at all. Sometimes you're gonna move the page around a little bit, similar to how you have to rotate drawings when you're drawing digitally as well, for your own benefit, for the lines you want to put down. I had a really good friend who came over here in the 1980s. You know, we both went, like, he went off to school far away, so, but his name was Van Trin. He was from Vietnam. But this is late 70s, early 80s. I'm 18, still trying to go to Fine Art University. Oh, well, thank you, Paula Fortune. Good luck. Sadly, I failed this year. Hope next year will be better. So in the meantime, that gives you the opportunity to just play and explore and do all kinds of things, unfettered by assignments. Sometimes the problem with school is that school has this expectation of people. There was an American abstractionist named Robert Rauschenberg, New York. His idea was that you can find all the materials that you need to make art within a New York City block. It was really helpful that he lived in New York. And so he would do some grand, crazy experimentation. And thank you, Lynn. That's nice for you to say. And to the extent that he would nail a wooden chair to a canvas, and he would print images on that as well as paint things on that said canvas, or he would put a toilet seat around the neck of a goat that he found that somebody had thrown out, a stuffed goat. And he would exhibit these things, and he'd spill paint over it or something, and he would exhibit these, and it's like, I get the hypothesis. I think that there is some validity to it, that you can try anything together and make some work. Make some work out of it. So this is a little table, little folding table that he's going to set up some food for Grandpa here. So what I think I'm going to do here, I might put, let's try this. I'm going to put the corner of the chair he's sitting on, and in the next panel I can develop that chair as well, but we'll put a little floral pattern here. How are we doing? 212. So I'm just thinking of some floral shapes, and I'm curious to what the expectations are for people to go to fine art school. I never went past high school. So I never, all that criteria. I mean, my kids did as they were. Most of the kids all went to college and university, but I never did, and so I don't really understand what criteria there would be for an art school to attend. So I'm going to add a little bit of thickness to the lines in Grandpa's shirt. So now, here I've got peeking over his shoulder is the flower patterned recliner chair that he's sitting in. And so I can draw that from a separate angle and show much more the chair in the next panel. So here we go with some math. A folding chair. The legs have to cross over in such a way as the top of said table is supported by the sides of said legs. And then we get to show what's underneath that too. So if I have this chair over here, then this leg's coming down here. I always recommend draw everything. When I go to art school, try different materials, learn how many figures, try to bring it into my comic. My suggestion is always draw everything. And I'll show you. People that tune in here regularly, you've seen this a million times. But wherever you are, draw whatever you see. There you go. When I was 18, I was offered a place at a very coveted art place, Alexander McQueen and Viv Westwood. Wow. So off the nursing and social work degrees. Completely understandable. Okay, so these are just random images out of sketchbooks where I will just spend time exploring my imagination or drawing cars in front of us on the highway and blowing those cars up, and there's a tractor wheel. In different forms, different shapes, exploring whatever we can, right? There's the wires on the street above, you know. And just allow yourself to do that, right? And eventually you'll have a really strong conviction about the things that you have a feeling for drawing, right? Same vocation, no work, little money. Actually, it doesn't different to go to art school. You can just learn almost everything on the internet nowadays. Yep. Imagine before the internet. I would read, are you ready? Books. Which is probably why I have all the books in the studio that I do. So, okay, so here is our table. Now I'm going to put a cross beam on the back that goes from leg to leg. Okay, so there's the folding table standing in the background. Susanna. Thanks for stopping in, Susanna. Have a great day. Yeah. So there's our folding table, and we can put some tricky pen. So I'm going to put some shadow underneath this, and then I'll add a little bit of texture in there for the carpet. There you go. That's good thinking. That's a way to look at it. I did that for a long time. I would work on things in the evening after the family was in bed, and would do the day jobs to pay the bills. I did that for a very, very long time, and till 2021 when I was done working at the place I've been working at for a long time. So much money right now to go to universities and colleges to get an education. It's almost predatory that they cost so much. How you doing for time? Doing all right. So I'm gonna put. Let me think. I want to put some depth in this room. Do you have your support of your family? It was hard to convince at first. That is the story of every person who's on a creative journey. Okay, so let me think here. We've got the television's going to be over here. There's a little side table for him to have his meal on, and then we'll have him sitting in his recliner chair facing the TV. So I think what I'll do is put the frame of a doorway here going into another room. And that should apply some sense of depth. Story, doctor, lawyer, dentist. There you go. What is the Asian joke about being a doctor or engineer? Trying to think of how I'm gonna frame this doorway. And I can put something on the wall behind here. Some old framed images. And we can even play with the wallpaper if we like. Asian joke about being a doctor or engineer. If I didn't choose to go to art school, I'd have to go to law school. Is it either or? That's your choices. There was a long-held tradition, an Irish tradition that you give one of your kids, one of the kids would go to the church and be a priest or a nun. Which is how you wind up with uncles with nicknames like Jimmy the Saint. Yes. He's probably the one that didn't and got into trouble. So it wasn't my family anyways. Okay, so I'm just drawing stuff in the background. I don't feel like myself when I do maths, chemistry, and physics. Oh boy, I'm going to tell you some terrible news. There's a lot of math in art. The difference is, whereas it's not computational mathematics where you're having to figure out sums and things like that, but there's a great deal of scaling and measuring and looking for the symmetry in objects and stuff like that. So I love art, I love drawing, painting, and literature. Fantastic. Yeah, what I'm gonna do here is in the background I'll draw the kitchen. So there's a door frame, and then this is there's the divider between these two rooms. Just putting some lines in here for some movement across the space. Just to give it a little bit interesting values there, value shifts, so that we can draw the eye down. Okay, so there we go. There's their carpet. There's the table. I've got to put some more of this cross hashing, or I guess not cross hashing, it's just sideways lines underneath. Okay, so I'll just continue on with some of these little marks on the floor for the carpet. Those little textures, those little marks we make. My husband is part of Jew, either or the above. He's a rock musician and a rebel. His family's horrified. Leather trousers and frilly shirts are a sin against humanity. Oh my goodness. When Lori and I met, I had hair down to the middle of my back. And the longer my hair gets, the curlier it gets. I had a goatee. My hair naturally curls. So it was curled at the side and curled at the front. So I basically met my wife's parents looking like a musketeer. And that was largely because I was too lazy to shave. Haircuts cost money. And I was in a band, so understands who I am. It's really rare to have a void choose to go to art school in here, actually. Is that right? So I'm debating a wallpaper texture up here. So bear with me for a moment. So I'm just putting lines down in the background to represent like a wallpaper pattern. So I don't know how easy it is to see, but it's just up and down lines in the back. But this information in the back, if we were to look at this and apply color to it, then we could do 3 different planes of value here. Our first plane would be right here at the front, which is around Grandpa, right? And his chair. So you could do like a lighter value in your composition for that. And then the intermediate plane, or the middle ground, the table, the hands, the food, glass, and the grandson. So you could do a subtly darker value. And then in the background behind that, you can do with the living room wall and so on and so forth here with the frame picture and the top of the lamp, you could do a deeper value again. So that would separate the 3 planes from one another. That, or you could put Grandpa in a little bit of shadow and the grandson to be more illuminated, and then the living room wall to be deeper and help to separate those 3 different depths of field. And then I'm going to draw a kitchen in the background, and honestly I could wash the kitchen right out, like with the color, and make it nice and highly illuminated and bright, so that it isn't, because we don't want to draw any attention away from the central part of our image, and that's Grandpa's face, right? As he's having to listen to his grandson go on and on and on. almost done. This is the sort of stuff I find. It's a little, you know, it just takes a little bit of time, but honestly, some of the things that it offers, the overall composition, give it merit, so. And then, of course, the same pattern would go along the top of the wall as well, or top of the door frame, sorry. And then all that leads me to have to draw is the kitchen in the background. So we're pretty good on this panel. So the idea is so I've been trying to think about story as I go through this page. So the way that we can connect this to the overall narrative of the last couple of pages that we've been doing is that, and I don't know where I put them. Here they are. So the way that we can connect this to the previous 3 pages is by, this is one of the guys here. This is this guy and his grandfather. So just as this guy, we did a page that had him in it leading up to the events of the following 2 pages. So this is going to be the same kind of a scenario, but because it's his own unique and independent story, I wanted to try to apply a different idea to just this structure of this page. So I think what it's going to be is just another course of dialogue between the 2. And, okay, well, I'm setting out your dinner for you here, Grandpa, before I head into my room. And so, I don't know what you get up to in your room, and oh, you kids these days, you got to go out and make some friends, and so on and so forth. And you never spend any time with anybody. And then and we're moving towards the last panel across the 3. And that last panel will be him joining his friend in a group video game. How did I add the yellow? Are you talking about this one? This? Or this? That's black and white. That's pencil. So what this is that I take paint with a roller and I just roll some acrylic paint on a piece of paper and I let it dry. And then I'll come back in with a pen, a couple markers, and draw flat on top of it. And so you get this really fun gradation that happens in the background. This gradient that moves throughout the entirety of the surface. So that's what you mean by the yellow. Okay, so here we go. There's our first page. I think I'm going to be putting a little bit of a shadow there on the back of the frame, top of the door from our light source here. Okay. Yeah, so the previous 3 pages to this, so each one is its own 1-page story, but when they're connected, they tell a larger tale. So there's page 1, and this is the one character at the table. He's a game designer, and he's people are coming to visit him, and he's getting frustrated, so he needs some release. But the suggestion was chicken villain. So the video game he's designed that he's trying to promote has the chicken as the villain in it. So the suggestion for this one is soldiers fight against the unknown. So that's specifically what this adventure is about. But there's a little anecdotal conversation about will we be ready when we go to space, when we explore the unknown? Are we going to take care of each other in that process? So there's a secondary little sub-story explored in there, but when you read all of the pages together, you'll realize that there's characters that are moving throughout these different stories, and in a somewhat linear fashion, so that it tells a larger narrative that way when you put the pages together. And then the last page in that grouping is this is a team of video game players, like a championship video game team. They disappear and are presumed dead. But the way I've got it laid out is there's the team in the left corner. Here they are in this next panel, engaged in the game, and this references back to this page and these 4 characters that are here. And so the reality is that now they're in, they're actually gaming. So there's an explosion and the characters get all drawn out into space. And then there's a newspaper in the real world that says the World Championship gamer, the designer dogs, are missing and presumed dead. So that's how it connects. And then the page that I'm doing today, the fella standing in the top panel on the left-hand side is the character that is with his grandfather today in this page. So this is him in the background here as he's getting his grandfather set up so that he can go in the room and do some gaming. While his grandfather is saying, you have no social life and you don't meet anybody. How are you ever going to be happy? And meanwhile, he's found friends online and they enjoy engaging and interacting together in that way, which is of course something that older generations have a hard time conceptualizing, is that all of your engagements are, and a lot of social interactions are not immediate. They're not in person. A lot of social engagements for a lot of young people now are online. I mean, for goodness sakes, those of us that are engaged here and today, you got BC, Canada, I'm in the central Canada, I was in the Netherlands, I was in Vietnam, so we've got everybody everywhere. Plus, as my IT skills are rubbish. There's a little support from Roy. That's great. I get really frustrated by programs and bureaucratic paperwork, bureaucracy, and having to do paperwork and stuff like that, and, independent business stuff and everything else drives me up the wall. And I'm a production engine. I can produce all kinds of things. Then what? I'd sooner just keep going. So, that's why this is page number 294 for this year. We've done over 600 pages this last year. Almost 2 years now. So this is fun. And volume 2 of One Page Extravaganza will be coming out soon. And then we'll have Stream of Conceitedness and The Village Haunted and all kinds of different things. There's a learning curve. I'm still learning. Everybody's still learning. If you find a point in your creative journey that you don't feel like you're learning anything or that there's any kind of growth for yourself, then pick up something else and add that to the mix. I choose that. I need to have hands with the paint, natural products. I can learn it, but it's not for my life now. Yeah, it's challenging, right? But I'm that's why I draw with so many different things, is I get so easily bored and I have to engage in something different. Thanks, Chris and friends. Made my evening. Aw, Paula, you're great. Okay, so there's our first panel put together, and been going for a while now, and I think I better. I'm still pacing myself as I'm, getting back into the flow of things. So, when I'm getting tired, like I know I'm getting tired now, I gotta regroup. But thank you very much, everybody that's come out and spent some time together. And I hope that some of these things that we're talking about here inspire people and encourage you guys to go out and do, the creative exploration that you want to do. I really enjoy the time that I get to interact with you all. So thank you very much. Thank you everybody that's that for coming out. Thank you, Linda, the moderator with the mostest, and I will be back again. If I don't pop in this weekend, I will be back on Monday at 1 p.m. EST, Eastern Standard Time, North America. So whatever time that would be there, it's the same time as I started today. So if that helps, perfectamundo. Okay, thanks very much, everybody. I hope you have a wonderful day, and if I don't see you, I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Bye for now.